Michigan Wedding Podcast is brought to you by RDS Films and Michael's Entertainment. Welcome to the Michigan Wedding Podcast, designed for engaged couples curious to learn more about the people that make up the Michigan wedding industry on a deeper and more personal level. It might be crazy out there in the rest of the world, but here at Zingerman Cornman Farms, it's pretty nice and peaceful. And in just a little bit, we're going to have a great conversation with one of the owners, the managing partner of this prestigious venue, Tabitha Mason. But first, we're going to take a minute and introduce the Michigan Wedding Podcast team, starting with our top producer and wedding video extraordinaire, Rocky Shattuck of RDS Films.
Hey guys, how we doing out there in the YouTube and digital world? Thanks for having me. Super excited to be a part of the podcast with you. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Dude, thanks for being here and sharing your incredible talents to make this possible, man.
Yeah. And we can't forget about Richard of Michael's Entertainment is with us today as well.
Hey, the legendary wedding DJ extraordinaire.
The one and only.
Not legendary, but
Richard Somerset. Yeah. Thanks for being here, man.
Of course, man.
How you feeling?
Doing good. Looking forward to this. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be fun.
So before we jump into our conversation with Tabitha and learn all about this incredible venue, we thought maybe we'd start off by sharing a little bit of tips and tricks for couples out there that might be looking to hire a wedding videographer or a wedding DJ and might be in the searching process and not really know what to ask or what to do. So, Rocky, why don't you hit us, man? What you got for the wedding video tip of the day?
So my tip of the day is check your contracts, right? So especially with COVID, and it seems obvious, contracts, but you'd be surprised how many people out there will go through the booking process without looking at a contract, looking it over, making amendments if they want, and then signing it, right? So make sure you got a contract that you like, you're happy with. I've had clients reach out to me and say, hey, can we add this to the contract? And I've added things to our contract to make them happy. So be conscious of that when you're booking any of your vendors. Ask for a contract, review it before you lay down a deposit. That's my tip of the day.
There you go, Rocky.
I love it.
Yeah, good advice, man. Thanks for sharing that. Richard, what about you, brother? Hit us with the wedding DJ tip of the day.
Yeah, we'd love to. So when looking for your potential wedding DJ, you should consider asking them what's their plan when transitioning to the open dance floor, because we've all been in those parties before where we all want to be on the dance floor, but no one wants to be the first one out there, essentially. So dancing may start off a bit less than enthusiastic. So having a plan in place to start off strong is pretty big. You can do a few things. Start off with a line dance, which is, to some, could work pretty well, and to others could maybe seem a bit typical or a bit cliche. You could recommend what we do, which is right after your last special dance, we'll then invite everybody out for one more special dance, essentially. So a special dance for all their guests, right? And at the end of that slow song, play the first fast song of the night. The dance floor lights would come on, and at that point, since you're already out there moving and grooving, the easiest thing to do is to just keep dancing.
Yeah.
You have a packed dance floor right away. No one was the first one out there, and your DJ can ride that momentum all night long for you guys. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but making sure there's a plan in place is my tip of the day.
What a great tip. As a videographer, I've seen you guys implement that on the dance floor and at your weddings, and trust me, it works. It's great, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Rocky. And thanks, Richard.
Of course, man.
Well said, man.
Thank you, brother.
So, now without further ado, it's my great pleasure to introduce the woman we came here to see in the first place. She's a respected pillar of the local business community, a awesome leader of her team here at the venue, and just a rock star of a person, go-getter, sweetheart. And it's my great pleasure to hang out with you today. Tabitha, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm so excited.
Oh, thanks for taking the time. So many fond memories of DJing weddings that you guys have hosted.
Yeah.
And it's nice to hang out with you and a little change of pace here.
Definitely. I have done a ton of things that I'm pretty proud of, but I have to tell you today, my 11-year-old was like, you get to be on a podcast. So thank you for helping me be cool in his eyes.
Oh, what's your 11-year-old's name?
Tommy.
Tommy, this is for you, brother. So, looking back at the past year, I think it's very uncommon that a business owner would say it was like the best year ever for the event business. But I guess in search of a silver lining, anything you got to do in the past year, professionally or personally, that maybe you couldn't have if it wasn't for the quarantine?
Definitely. There are a couple of things that come to mind. One, speaking of Tommy and his 13-year-old brother, Sam, I've spent more time with my kids in the last 9 months than I have, in a while.
Yeah.
And so that's been really enjoyable at times. They are still middle school boys.
Oh, boy.
And then for my business partner and I, this really allowed us to spend time working on ideas we've always had, where we've said, wouldn't it be fun if one thing that we should do would be,
Right.
I would love to have a private label wine. We serve a lot of wine here. I love to drink wine.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Cheers.
So we can do some taste testing. And so we've had a ton
after the
of
podcast,
things.
maybe?
Yeah.
Might be a little early. I don't know.
So there have been things like that
Yeah.
where we have had other ideas for revenue, other ways that we could connect with people, but they have been pushed to the back burner. And the past 9-10 months have really let us focus on that too.
That's so cool. Taking advantage of what life provides, right?
Definitely.
There's always a silver lining.
Yes.
I learned that I'm not very good at building sheds, but I built it. But it took me like 3 months, and
I'm not very good at middle school math.
there you go. But that's so cool.
Yes.
And obviously you're a go-getter. You're a type A, organized, person. There's a lot of things you could have done with your career. Out of all the places that you could have gone, what drew you to Zingerman's Cornman Farms?
I love Zingerman's. I had been a fan for years. I never saw myself as a business owner. I don't consider myself, well, now I do, but I didn't grow up as an entrepreneur by any stretch of the imagination. But I came to Zingerman's as someone who loved coming as a customer, and always got really great service and really amazing food. And I decided to see if working here was as much fun as it seemed like. So I started at the Roadhouse, our full-service restaurant, and I was the general manager of Zingerman's Roadhouse for a few years. And that's where I met my business partner, Kieran, who owns this business with me.
Wow, sweet.
We're definitely known for service in the organization, and to me, there's no bigger day that someone should have, great service than on their wedding day.
Absolutely. So you mentioned you're a managing partner, and that basically means that you are part owner of this
Correct.
magical place.
Yes. Owner-operator is another way of referring to our structure. But yes, Kieran and I are the owners. We are partners with Ari and Paul, who founded Zingerman's. But Kieran and I are the ones who are here every day doing the work.
Yeah, how cool. So I guess when you're not planning and hosting, marvelous events, what are some things you like to do on your free time?
Well, I do love to drink wine, as I mentioned earlier, and I can sort of call that a work activity right now.
Absolutely,
while I'm working on
yeah.
that. I love to read. I really enjoy binge watching junk TV. I'm not above any of that. And, playing with the kids, walking, puzzles, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm sure you got to do a lot of that, like we said in the past year.
We've done a lot of
so.
puzzles.
My fiance loves puzzles. That's like her. That's probably her favorite activity.
Yeah, it's nice to, when you're all day like really having to use your brain and make decisions, it's fun to just kind of come and look at something and watch it come together piece by piece and not stress out.
Yeah, sometimes she'll say, "Hey, you want to put one in?" And I'll walk over and I'll have a hard time, finding where it goes, and she'll go, "Maybe this spot." And then I put it there. Oh, and it is satisfying when that piece goes in.
It feels so good when it fits. Yeah.
Yes. So, can you tell me a little bit about the history of this place?
Yes. So we are on 27 acres in Dexter, Michigan, just outside of Ann Arbor. But hopefully, as you experience today, it feels like you have really left the city and come to a relaxing countryside. The 27 acres that we're on right now used to be a dairy farm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so where we are, all around us, these subdivisions used to be part of the farm that was here. The house, go ahead.
And I was about to say, was the farmhouse.
Yes, yep. So this was the farmhouse. It was built in 1834. It was actually built for Dexter's first doctor. And so he would stop here on his way from Detroit to
cool.
other parts of the state. And this is the getting ready space where our couples will be able to come and relax for the day. We only do one event per day, which means that someone can come on property with, their friends, some sparkling wine, everything they need to get ready and really relax for the day. They don't have to go from place to place.
That's so cool. They don't have to bump into other brides either.
Right.
So.
Yes. Yeah. And it's enough property that we can keep the couple separate if they don't want to see each other before the wedding. So in that case, it might be that one part of the wedding party is here in the house and the other part of the wedding party is getting ready in our barn, which was built in 1837.
Wow. And so, yeah, it's a sprawling area here, right?
Yeah.
And so like you were saying, this is kind of like the bridal suite to a certain degree. And
Yep.
even the radiator is original to
Yes.
nearly 200 years ago.
Yes,
And-
there's a great fireplace in the library next door, and that's the original fireplace.
Wow.
So when you are in the kitchen and you see the fireplace, that used to be the outside of the house.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
So just so much history in these wooden floors, right?
Definitely. Yep. A lot of couples have been in this home over the years.
Yeah, I love that. And I guess, have you ever, I think last wedding I DJ'd here, I believe he was a professional hockey player. Is there any other celebrities that you guys have hosted events for here?
Definitely. A lot of our couples come from other states. So they maybe went to school at U of M and then ended up moving on to New York or Chicago, and we become a really fun destination for them. And so we have had people I didn't know because I don't follow sports, but
yeah.
my partner was very excited when we had Drew Brees here. We have had a variety of a lot of NFL players, lots of college football players. Jeff Daniels, because he lives in Chelsea.
How cool is that?
So yeah, we've had some fun with people that you might be excited to meet.
Yeah, and so just to get the lay of the land, and later on we'll get some video footage of the different areas we're
Yeah.
going to talk about. But as I recall, the ceremony actually happens right outside here. You got
Yes.
a lovely space. You lay out the chairs. It's just remarkable.
Yep.
And actually, also Rocky, who's producing this podcast, he's going to be including a link to a wedding video he
Nice.
made for a couple here. So that'll be kind of fun for anybody that wants to check that out. But talk to me a little more about kind of the way the layout works for your custom weddings here, like where things happen.
Definitely. So almost all of our ceremonies take place right in front of the farmhouse, which we call the front grove. And what I love about it is that it's nice and flat, and these trees that have been around for centuries provide us a ton of shade. So even in June, July, August months that maybe are typically thought of as hot months, it's still a really comfortable place
Yeah.
to get married, and it's a gorgeous backdrop.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people will simply have the house as the backdrop and not do any more, but it still makes a great spot if you want to do arches or garlands or huppahs or anything like that to make it your own. So ceremonies take place right out in front of the front grove. Typically then the couple is going to come inside, sign the marriage license, take in what they've done.
Yeah.
But we can bring them some drinks and
Take
appetizers.
a couple deep breaths.
They
All
can
right.
relax for the first time, maybe.
Yeah.
And then guests are going to sort of meander to the other side of the property where we have the gardens and the pergola outside of the barn. And that's where cocktail hour takes place. We have this beautiful built-in bar in the barn. We were actually able to use the original barn roof. And so there's this really rustic, how's that, looking metal around the bar, and that's the original barn roof. So cocktail hour takes place kind of indoors and out, depending on the weather. And then we would move the guests to dinner, which could be in the tent for our bespoke weddings, 100 or more. Could be inside the barn for our weddings of less than 100. We've even done, we do weddings as small as 2 people, so they'll often eat right here where we are in the farmhouse.
Is that what you call the elopements?
Yes.
I was reading about that on your website.
It takes place right here in the house. And, I had 22 people at my wedding, and my husband and I still talk about how we remember everyone who was there and how we interacted.
Just so intimate.
Definitely.
At that point.
And we love big weddings here at the farm. My daughter's getting married, and she's going to have a much bigger wedding than I did. But there's something really special about a small wedding to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's why we want to have some other offerings. COVID made it more obvious that it was a good choice, but we've been doing it for years.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the other silver linings of I guess the past year we've gone through is that people have realized, there's definitely something to be said for 200-300 people at a wedding, and there's different things that are cool about that.
Yep.
But this past year, we've done a lot of, parties that were 20, 30,
Yeah.
one was 15.
Nice.
I think that was the smallest we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certainly a real intimacy to it that you can feel. And surprisingly, sometimes we've had the dance floor rocking just as hard. I mean, all it takes is 5 people dancing
Right.
when the dance floor is small enough. But yeah, great times.
There's
and-
still parties. There's still celebrations, right? It
Yeah.
isn't something that people are settling for. They're choosing them because they
Yeah.
can be really special in a completely different way, like you said.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the coolest thing that you can remember happening here, or one of the coolest experiences that you had that maybe just out of the ordinary when you were doing a wedding.
That's a great question. One of the things that we, I feel, are lucky in is that we do have 27 acres. And so there's a lot of space to get creative.
Yeah.
And the Dexter Township, where we are, is completely supportive to some of these ideas that we throw at them. And so we've had fireworks, we've had bumper cars, we've had an elephant for an Indian wedding.
Really?
Yeah, we had a couple that set up an inflatable movie theater on the back part of the property, and they had hay bales for seating, and all of the kids just sort of migrated back there to watch movies while the adults danced the night away.
I love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, that's sweet. So I guess since I think you mentioned it was about 10 years ago that you joined the company.
Yep.
A few years later, you became one of
out
the
here.
managing partners here. And I guess what have you experienced? How has the company grown between when you joined them and now? What's
Oh my
changed?
gosh. Yeah, so for us at the farm, we're in our 6th season of having events, and we have definitely evolved as a business within that time. When we first opened, we really thought that people would perhaps only want to pay for what they used, and so we had a very a la carte pricing structure.
Okay.
And it turns out that people just want to know what things are going to cost. And so we switched a couple of years into packages where it's here's the property. You can use every table, every chair, every part of it. Just go to town, right? And so then it lets people know upfront what the cost is going to be. And it lets them know that no matter what happens on the event day, they don't have to worry about getting a bill after the fact, right?
It simplifies the whole process. right?
Definitely. Yeah. And we don't have to worry about if, the DJ perhaps wants a table. I don't have to say that's $10 or,
Right.
those kinds of conversations. Or I don't have a linen because I didn't think about it. We have all of those things here and at the ready. And so I'm really proud of that. It allows us to have completely different kinds of planning conversations because it's more like, what would you like to do versus that's a great idea. Here's the cost associated with it.
Makes sense. That's
Yeah.
very cool. And I think you and I were talking before about how you guys have systemized a lot of your processes
Yes.
and you've modeled it after some other, big companies and what they've done successfully. Talk to me a little bit about that. And this might be kind of cool for couples out there that maybe are either in business or thinking about doing a business together, or maybe just want to run a really effective family. Walk us through a little bit of that.
Oh my gosh, I could talk about this all day. Anyone who wants to talk to me about this, you can follow up with me. But we have really built systems here around lean, waste elimination, visual management, right? Our goal is to make it as easy for anyone who comes on property to do the right thing and make it difficult for someone to do the wrong thing. And it helps us, bring employees up to speed very quickly. We work with a lot of seasonal staff because of the nature of the business.
Yeah.
And so we want them, to get over that new employee feeling as quickly as possible. And so we utilize things like the visual management that I mentioned. I can show you some really fun examples. At the dish tank, I know from working here that wine glasses go in the red rack and water glasses go in the yellow rack. But if it's your first day or your third day and you come to the dish tank, you might not know. And so maybe you set it down and run away because you're nervous. We now have, signs that hang above all of the racks also that say water, that say wine.
So just labels.
Yeah, just simple labels.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and then someone said, well, I don't really know what this glass is. How do I know if it's a water or a wine glass? And so it's, not only the word wine, but then it's a picture of what it looks like. Because if perhaps you're an 18-year-old and you don't drink wine, you might not know which glass is the wine glass. And so we're constantly evolving based on the feedback of people who work here. on how we can make things simple. But we are also huge proponents of 43 folders. Have you ever heard of that?
I've never heard of that.
So it's based on a concept. It is a physical folder. And I love digital. I was not an early adapter to this. It took me some convincing. But the idea is that it's like a tickler file. So there are 12 folders for the year, one for each month.
Okay.
And then there are 31 folders that live inside the month.
One for each day.
One for each day, right? And so it's a very analog way to make sure that things that need to get done, because you can't escape the paper, right? I can dismiss a Google Calendar reminder. I might not even open my phone because the day goes sideways. But we've actually documented every step, every decision that we need from a couple. We know when we want it, right? So beverage menu 3 months prior, linen choices 2 months prior, final count 3 weeks ahead of time. And we use these 43 folders where I open up a very simple spreadsheet. I plug in the date of the wedding. I put in the name of the couple, and the spreadsheet just auto-populates with all of the due dates.
Oh, it's so easy. And nothing slips through the cracks.
No, I print it out. The couple knows what their due dates are. I know what their due dates are. They live in the office. If I don't come in, someone else in the office can grab it. And it's not like I have this secret information that, I have to do the work. Any of us can say, oh, today's the day I need the beverage menu. I can look and see if it's done. And if it isn't, I'm going to send them an email and follow up.
That's awesome. And it's I think when you have systems like that, it allows you to not stress because
Right.
it's covered.
Yep.
You don't got to constantly try to remember every single step of the process because I've already got it in my tickler file.
Yes.
I'm going to open that up when the time's right, and I'm going to have what I need.
Yep.
It's probably a big part of why you guys get so many awesome reviews.
Thank you. It's just in time. You worry about when you need to worry about it. And we make sure that we all stay on top of things.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Of course.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about food because, when we do events here, we get the opportunity to have a bite or two as well. And oh my goodness, I relish and look forward to those wonderful morsels you guys put together. So I think you mentioned before that your chef is actually one of the managing partners as well.
Yeah, so he's my business partner, Chef Kieran, and he has a very unique background in that he is from the UK. And when he was 12, he moved to London for one of the last modern apprenticeships. And so he has worked in 27 different countries. He's cooked for 2 sitting presidents, members of the royal family.
You're kidding.
No.
Wow.
Lots of, Michelin star, Paul Bocuse,
They sound fancy.
It's very fancy, but also it's also really delicious.
Oh, I can attest to that.
He's the man behind the food.
Now, given that this is a farm, would it be crazy to think that some of your ingredients are grown here?
Not at all. They are grown just over there. People are interacting with them during the cocktail hour right in our garden. We grow lots of herbs, onions, tomatoes, peppers, squash. All of our greens, kale, things like that come from the garden. We have rhubarb that Kieran smuggled from his mom's garden, and we use that as syrups in our cocktails. We have a blueberry patch that ends up in, maybe we make fun popsicles or we do cocktail syrups, things like that.
How cool! So it's as fresh as it gets. You go out right here,
Yes.
and there it is. When on a couple's wedding, their guests are getting to enjoy it,
Yep.
and then look out the window at the farm that produced it.
Yes, yeah.
And is there a seasonal aspect to that? I guess as far as what's available to couples?
Definitely. Yeah. What we're doing right now is a lot of things that have been preserved, right? Things that have been pickled, hardy root vegetables that can winter over that are still just sitting out there waiting for us to pluck. And then when we get into especially the height of the season, summer and fall, then we can really go crazy.
Yeah, I love that. And how do you guys, like when couples choose their food, what's the process for them picking what they want?
We start with a get to know you survey, for a lack of better terms. It's all completely custom. So I'm going to ask you, are there any shared food memories? Are there things that you like to cook for each other? Are there places you've been where there are dishes that stand out? And it might not end up that dish, I want Kieran to replicate it for your menu, but it's going to let me know a lot about who you are as a person, right? And the kinds of things that you enjoy to eat. And then it's going to inspire Kieran and I to build a menu off of that. Of course, we want to know, what is your preferred style? Some people are really into stations, or they want it, family style or plated. Do you have a preferred protein? We definitely want to know about any dietary restrictions, allergies, things like that.
So you guys can work with the dairy-free folks. And
Definitely, yes,
cool.
yes.
I'm one of those.
Okay, that's all right. I love cheese, but there's no judgment here.
Oh, I love cheese too. It's a tough life, to say no to the thing you love every day,
Definitely, yeah. And so we help them build menus that can be really special to them, but then can also make sure that everyone who's coming can eat safely.
That's sweet. Yeah, it's nice to know too, and you can keep it tasting good at the same time.
Definitely.
Right?
We have a smokehouse out on the property where a lot of our first looks happen because it's this really beautiful stone building. But we use it to smoke all of our hams, smoked salmon, things like that.
Wow.
And it's really cool on a wedding day to watch the smoke kind of billowing out.
Yeah.
And then you see my, bow-tied partner popping out there and checking on the meat. I feel like that doesn't happen everywhere.
No, does he still have his accent?
He sure does.
All right.
But we traveled to the UK a few years ago, and I realized that the accent that I hear every day is only a fraction of his full accent.
So it's a watered down
Yes.
British accent at this point.
I couldn't understand a word he said when we were over there.
Oh, that's so. I can't wait to meet him.
He's a trip.
If he jumps in, we'll have to have him get him on a mic real quick.
We'll have to have him make us something to eat real quick.
Yeah, better yet. So what are some of the things you've heard from past clients as far as like what their favorite thing about having their wedding here was?
We hear, of course, the food. Right, this is not your airline chicken, rubber chicken sort of
way.
Sort of place, right?
Yeah.
And so we definitely get a lot of compliments on the food. When we don't cater, we cater here for up to 150 people. So for our larger weddings, we refer them to some of our sister businesses, either Zingerman's Delicatessen or Zingerman's Roadhouse.
Oh, okay.
And so they're still getting delicious Zingerman's food, just in a different way.
As a side note, where did I remember it was like 10 years ago, Obama came to Zingerman's?
He sure did, yeah.
Where did he have that?
He went to the deli. He said
That's
the
right.
Reuben was killer.
Yep, I remember. I saw it on the news. I thought it was so cool.
Yeah, that was a really fun day for everyone.
Yeah, when I was telling my fiance about what we were doing today, I'm like, yeah, we're going to go interview the owner of the Zingerman Cornman Farms. Yeah, their parent company owns that place that Obama had that sandwich. And she was like, oh, wow.
We definitely get a lot of people who come through who, are name celebrities.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could give a couple out there, and I imagine a lot of our viewers are going to be couples who are maybe in the beginning stages of their planning, if you're able to give them a little bit of advice in the planning process, what are some tips that you might share?
My oldest is getting married in September.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's exciting.
It is very exciting. We're doing a destination wedding out of the country, knock on wood. But, the first thing I said to her was to write down what was important to her, and then that's what we're going to focus on, right? A lot of what I do here at the farm and a lot of my co-wedding professionals, right? Sometimes we are therapists, we're mediators, we are many, many things more than the hat that we wear on our business card, because there are so many sort of unspoken expectations that people have when they start wedding planning. And so for me, I just want that couple to really document what it is that's important to them, because a lot of opportunities, there are going to be lots of ways you can spend your money, lots of ways you can spend your day. Your parents are going to have opinions. Your friends are going to have opinions. And so I really want them to hold true to what they want, so that 9 months later, when it is their wedding day, they really do get what they want, not what they thought they should have had.
Right. So write it down, get
really clear.
Don't just think it. Get it down on paper so you can look at it, talk about it, figure out, hey, what are the pros and cons?
Yes. Yeah, we use visioning within our organization quite a bit. And for us, we define a vision as what success looks like at a particular moment in time.
Ooh.
So it's written like a story. It's written as if we're there in the moment, right?
That's very poetic.
It's powerful, right, to read what you want. And so I would encourage all couples to really write a vision, right? Like for my daughter, it is September 18th, 2021, and my daughter just walked down the aisle. Like, I am relaxed. My husband and I are so proud as I look around. The people who are there are the people that we want to be with us the most.
So you're putting yourself in that future place and kind of making it tangible.
Yep. And then any sort of decision that comes up along the way, you can compare it to that vision and say, does that help get me there? Or does this sidetrack me?
What a great way to stay focused.
Yeah.
Start with the end in mind.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
It's almost like the what's the word I'm thinking of? About business would have a vision statement.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so you should do the same thing for, I guess, anything that's important to you.
Definitely. Yeah. Then you can share it with your friends. For my daughter, she could give it to her future mother-in-law and really say, this. It may be hard for me to articulate in the moment, but this is what I want my wedding to be like.
Yeah.
How can you help me? What ideas do you have?
I think that's some really good advice.
Thank you.
Tabitha. Thank you. So I guess once a couple, well, first of all, if a couple out there is curious to learn more and maybe have their wedding here,
Yeah.
what would be the best way for them to get in touch with
Oh my
you
gosh,
guys?
go to our website, cornmanfarms.com, and you can see tons of pictures. We have downloadable brochures with pricing so that you can really get a feel for all of the different offerings. And then you can reach out to us right through the website so that we can bring you out for a tour.
I love it. And your website's very beautiful.
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Well, we're so lucky. I mean, every event that we do here gives us amazing pictures. So I don't have to worry about coming up with my own.
One of the perks of
Yes.
being a wedding venue and
Yes.
having photographers in and out
Exactly.
every weekend. And so once they book, how do you, you mentioned before about a lot of your process. So this may kind of overlap a little bit with what you were talking about before, but how do you kind of work with them leading up to the event with the planning?
There are a team of us here that work together in the office. And so we use a shared inbox. And I love that because it means that no matter what day of the week it is, someone's here.
We do the same thing.
It's such great service, right? Like
Yeah.
people don't always think of questions Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Right.
Or they're working and they need to work on their weddings, in different hours. And so for us, being able to make sure that 7 days a week someone answers the phone or someone responds to an email is really important to me.
Yeah.
Even though there are 4 of us with really unique personalities, though, we all, we give the same answer. We're on the same page. We know what we do and we do it really well. And so it can be any of us that are working with you through the wedding process. We use a planning software, and so we're able to send you due dates right through the software, let you know when payments are due. It keeps track of documents, so you can log in, at 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. in the morning. You might want to see, what was the menu they sent or when's my next payment due, and they can go right to that portal instead of having to try to get hold of someone.
Or comb through all the emails.
Yes.
They've got it. We have a similar process too. That the idea is that you're just always here for them, right?
That's right. I consider it intentional technology.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's our IT. We don't need to use technology for everything, but when it works, why not take advantage of it?
And Sundays are sometimes the days where brides have the most time
Definitely.
to think, and sometimes when they start thinking, they can get a little anxious, and they need to reach out to you, and you're here for
Yeah,
them. So that's a huge plus.
Yeah, when we first started, we were here we would have an administrative assistant 5 days a week, and it became clear that really to give the best service, we needed to be here every day. So we just mix up our schedules.
Yeah, it's perfect. Different shifts. Everybody's got somebody has a different day off.
Yep.
And so it works out.
Yeah, and then when we get real close to the wedding, then, we have formed really great relationships with our couples, and then we will let them know, here's who's going to be here on your wedding day and when.
That's so cool.
And because we are here, typically, a bespoke wedding is usually here from 10 a.m. until midnight. That can't just be me.
Right.
I would be I'm too old for that. That's a very long day.
Yeah.
And so, we can say it's going to be, Kirsten will be here when you arrive, and she'll be here until you walk down the aisle. And after that, I'll be here, and I'll see you through dinner, and really let them know that we are here with them, and we're going to be here all day.
Just pass the baton.
You've
and
got it.
Keep her rolling.
Yep.
So when the day happens, you just kind of answered that a little bit, but what are some other things that a couple can expect the day of, as far as how you guys are going to kind of keep things on track for them? Like, how do you help the day of, I guess?
Well, I think one of the great things that we do is that, we aren't simply a venue where you pick up the keys the day before and you come in, right? We're here the whole time. And so that means no matter what happens, we can be here to help, right? We have put a lot of things in place to try to minimize day of weirdness, right? We have a generator, so if the power goes out, we can, keep the party going.
Perfect.
We added that a few years ago, and I slept a lot better
Oh, I bet.
afterwards. But almost all of our weddings include a concierge, and which is someone whose sole job it is to take care of the bride. If it's a couple where there's where a bride and a groom, and so the concierge might help steam dresses. Right, they're picking up sushi or running to the hotel because someone left their socks.
All the above.
Yeah, and so that frees me up to make sure that vendors know where to park, and we can help get them unloaded and get everyone to the right spot, because my focus is often in a variety of different places, but
Sure.
there's one person who that bride can, come down the stairs to, where we'll go upstairs and check on and do whatever they need.
That's a perfect setup. And I guess because I didn't want to spend too much time talking about COVID, but given that we are still in that
Yes.
world for hopefully a short time only, you mentioned the tiny weddings and the elopements. Is there anything else that you can think of that is, I guess, important to know about how you guys are being flexible with the situation we're in with it?
Definitely. I mean, we have seen an uptick in tiny weddings in the past year, which for us, is a 2 to 10 person package, and we do them a handful of times a year. But we've always done those, so it's nice to see that they're continued to be popular. But I think a lot of places are also adding tiny weddings out there in the world at large. For us, we have always tried to position ourselves to say, we're in this together. So if the couple is willing to stick with us, we're going to figure it out, right? And that means that last year we waived, minimums. Like if someone wanted to still get married on their original wedding day, but we could only have 70 people instead of, the 100 that was in their contract, well, let's rewrite the contract.
That's
because
cool.
if you want to have your wedding, I would much rather have an event than not, right?
Yeah.
We waived we waived minimums. We took final counts later, right? Because everything's a little up in the air sometimes with travel. We were more flexible with the guaranteed count because someone might get sick or not feel well at the last minute, and we don't
Sure.
want them to come. We would like them to stay
Yeah.
home. So why charge? Why charge someone for
Right.
it? So we looked at lots of different ways to help people choose. Is it best for me to have my event? Should I postpone? But if they stayed in it with us, we're in it together. There shouldn't be any financial penalty.
That's cool. So you basically, you were reasonable with it. You bent, sometimes you bent the rules a little
Yep.
bit in the interest of the couple, not because you had to,
Right.
but because it was the right thing to do in that circumstance.
Yeah,
And
there were people who wanted to get married in 2020 for a variety of reasons. And so we got them married. It was safe. It was beautiful. We did what we could, and they appreciate it.
good for you guys.
Thank you.
That's really cool. So I had a great time talking with you. This has
Yes.
been a lot of fun. I guess as we're kind of wrapping up our conversation, is there anything else that, any closing remarks about this venue, the space, anything at all?
I think that one thing that I'm often asked is like, what's the one thing that you do, right? Like, what's the one thing about Cornman Farms that couples should know, or what's the one thing that your couples love? And I just want to point out that it isn't one thing, because everyone's desire on their wedding day is different, right? And so I think that one of the things that makes us really good at what we do is that while we know a lot of the same things are going to happen, we're going to set up ceremony chairs, we're going to get you down the aisle, we're going to serve dinner, we don't prescribe it as this is how it has to happen, right? We really listen to our couples, and then we figure out what we can do within the space that we have so that they have the wedding day that's right for them, not the wedding day that I would have chosen.
Sure. And that's kind of a balance because, you're kind of making it known that you're systemized and you're prepared and you're rock solid and everything that's going to put you in a winning position to do a great job for the
Right.
couple, but you're not cookie cutter.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think of them as riverbanks, right? You're sort of, there are
Got
definitely
some good metaphors.
there are these banks that we need to stay between.
Yeah.
But within there's a lot of give also. And so letting people know that they can make it their day is part of my job.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Tabitha
pleasure.
Mason. It's been a really fun time hanging out with
Definitely.
you. And thanks for inviting us out here, and looking forward to many events with
I
you guys.
can't wait until you are all back here on an event day, frankly. I mean, this is very fun. It's nice to sit with vendors because
sure.
that doesn't happen very often. But man, getting back to what we love to do is going to be a real treat.
You bet. Well, thanks again, and thanks everybody out there for tuning in to the Michigan Wedding Podcast. It's been a great time hanging with you guys. Hope you got a lot of value out of it. Do us a favor, like, subscribe, show us some love. Let us know we're rocking and rolling for you guys the way we're trying to, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Yeah, thanks again, Kevin. The Michigan Wedding Podcast is brought to you by RDS Films and Michael's Entertainment.